Hello and welcome to the More Than Mostly Comedy podcast once again, or for the first time.
Grab your chair, sit down, make yourself comfortable, open your drink, open it. I presume I can. I don't really know where I'm going with this. But like you said, or hello if you've never been here before. It's lovely to have you with us. And this is the Jan Ravens episode.
It is indeed. And I'm Glyn Doggett, and with me is David Ephgrave.
That's me. I'm David Ephgrave. That's me. With you in a sort of online sense. Not actually.
Yeah, because we're not. Yeah.
I prefer this.
Really together,
I prefer when we're not in the same room. It's just,
I'm so used to seeing a one-dimensional version of you on screen now that it'd be weird to see you in real life.
When I turn around, like, fucking hell, it's three-dimensional.
He's got a back. Yeah.
I'm not Flat Stanley.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just had a very nice chat with the wonderful Jan Ravens, and I really think she's wonderful. She's multi-talented, very nice, works with just the best people as well. Just the perfect combination, really, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. And we had her at our club, Mostly Comedy, back in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Just before she went to Edinburgh with Rory Bremner. And we say this in the interview, but she is such a great performer, and obviously the impressions are fantastic, but her sort of the energy that she has and the way that she puts across the characters physically as well as just with the voice, that it's so great to watch. And we talk about that a bit in the interview. So
yeah, but it absolutely is like a sort of burst of energy, isn't it? And it was sort of funny as well, because it was a funny booking, because we'd had Rory Bremner at Mostly before, and then he was obviously doing the show in Edinburgh with Jan, so it sort of, we ended up booking it through Rory and seeing Jan through that, and it was lovely to sort of get her as a bonus extra that we weren't expecting. And it was a lovely show. I went to see it in Edinburgh as well, so it was interesting to see the difference between the preview and the final show. But anyway, we're really here to listen to the Jan Ravens interview. So, as I say, you've got your drink open, you're sat on your chair, you put your feet back, I don't know, sort of back forward, but you leave. I'd just listen to the interview. So we're here again in an online setting with the fantastic Jan Ravens. Hello, Jan. How are you doing?
Hello, Glyn. Hello, David. Hello, people.
How are you?
Nice to be with you. It's nice to be with people.
Yeah, it's nice to be talking to someone else rather than just yourself.
I know. Even virtually, it's nice.
Yeah. How have you been coping with the whole lockdown scenario? Obviously, it's eased a little bit now, but
I've been quite domestic. I mean, I have been meaning to be creative all the time, and in fact, my sons for my birthday bought me this thing called a masterclass, where you can have sort of like film directing lessons with Ron Howard and singing lessons with Christina Aguilera.
Amazing.
But I just keep thinking, I think I'll just put another wash on. I simply can't be domestic enough. I started off because, of course, the cleaners didn't come in. So I was obliged to, run the hoover around and start disinfecting everything. So, it was, that took up a good deal of time, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And, so I didn't really get creative at all. And then I did a few sort of like poetry things and Shakespeare things, that people asked me to do online, which was really nice.
Right.
Like for charities and things.
Yeah.
And that was nice. But, and we started doing Dead Ringers now, of course, in isolation.
Are you doing that from home then, or do you go in? Or...
Well, I'm not doing it from home because I'm actually a complete technophobe. And this, for me, is quite challenging.
Yeah.
But my son, Louis, is now here with me. And so he's sort of, calmed me down. But no, I actually go to a studio in Holborn with the guy that's running it, the studio manager, technical manager guy. And I go into his studio in Holborn. John Coleshaw's in a studio in Liverpool because he's got a house in Ormskirk. And all the others have got, those horrible sort of, swathed in duvet kind of pods that you see, which I have tried to construct here, actually.
Yeah.
But, oh, God, I was like heaving sort of coat racks and blankets around the house. And, Alfie, my son, came around and said, Mum, what are you doing? It looked like I was about to read people's fortunes or something. I had this kind of tent in the middle of the hall. But, yes, I'm still a bit scared of doing a voiceover and having to kind of be in charge of the tech.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And also the pressure, I suppose, of then, because you'd record it all and then send it through, and they go, no, it's not good enough. You'd be like, oh, for goodness, you'd have to go through and do it all again. It's just
I know.
Massive
and I did all
effort.
kinds of voice tests. like I constructed all these pods of duvets and blankets and coat racks and things. And I had about 2 different alternatives of those. And then in the end, Alfie said, look, why don't you just try this? So he had me sitting on the bed, just with the duvet over my head. And that was the one they went for.
Excellent. Wow.
But I mean, bloody hell, you wouldn't want to do an audio book.
No. It sounds like you're living the dream. You're living the showbiz dream, doing voiceovers under a duvet at home. It's amazing.
I mean, I've seen all these people on Twitter, like Craig Cash, is posting photographs of himself doing the voiceover for Gogglebox, and he's kind of, sort of going to the camera, pouring with sweat.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
duvets just like this close to him, and I mean that's a long, that's not a quick, no, exactly. Creamy, smooth, lemon fresh kind of end line, is it? It's a big load of old, in Manchester, all those things.
It's long, isn't it? There was a big Hollywood actor talking on Graham Norton, I can't remember who it was now, and he was showing his setup, and his was just a cupboard. And I thought, for someone of his kind of, pay scale, I would have thought he would have been able to afford a studio, because he was huge. I can't remember who it was now. But it was literally a cupboard with bedding in it. And I thought,
I think actually they make a lot of fuss about it, because I did... I got asked to do a line as Theresa May once for the Old Vic, for a play about the murder of Litvinenko, was it? And the Russian guy that was murdered in Itsu. And they said, we just want a couple of lines as Theresa May. And it was something like, at this point, the Home Office is unable to help you. We are very sorry to say, or something. It was a bit more than that. And I basically put my head in the wardrobe. Had like things hanging up, put my head in the wardrobe, and sort of had my voice, my voice message thing on my phone. And I recorded it, and I went to see the play, and it was in the Old Vic Theatre, which has got the most amazing sound system. And this line came up, and it was a really dramatic point, because Litvinenko's widow saying, so I went to the Home Office, and the Home Office, was at the time Theresa May was Home Secretary, and this is what she said to me. And this voice comes out. It sounded amazing.
Really, right. So it's the answer. That's all you need to do these days. We don't have to go back to work. That's the thing.
I worry about the studios, though. I worry about all the studios. What are they going to do?
Well, it's like venues and everything, isn't it? Theatres. It's all in, up in the air.
Anyway, let's not go down that bloody rabbit hole. Otherwise, we'll just start weeping and bemoaning our lost careers.
There was a question I wanted to ask you. I was having a look at your IMDb listing. And it said on there that you voiced an uncredited goblin in Labyrinth. Was that true? And if so, can you remember anything about it? No.
Absolutely not a thing.
Okay. That was okay.
No. But I wish I did remember it, though, if I did do it.
That's about 4 pages of questions I was going to ask.
That's it, we've got nothing else. We were just going to talk lots about David Bowie and Labyrinth. That was
But also I saw, like you were saying about doing the Theresa May thing, that you also voiced Thatcher in Are You Being Served? Is that true?
I mean, I don't know what that was either. It was just like, oh, hello, Mr. Grace. What a marvellous department. So, that was one of those things where repeat fees kept coming in for the BBC for, 79p, for some years afterwards, one line as Thatcher on Are You Being Served?
So do you find yourself sort of regularly being asked to do those sort of things, little voiceovers for people like that in things? I guess it opens up.
Well, it's weird, actually, because I did get asked to do one the other day. As the Queen,
right? And
it was for a documentary about the Queen,
right?
And I said, so you this isn't a kind of a funny version of the Queen, like at this time of year, my husband and I like to tour the Commonwealth, and it wasn't like the funny version. And so they said, oh no, will you do a couple of tests? So I went and did a couple of tests under the duvet, and they said no, they say it doesn't sound real enough, and I said, well. To be honest, if you're doing a documentary about the Queen, it is, it's tantamount to treason, isn't it? To kind of try and pass somebody off as her.
Yeah, it's very misleading, isn't it?
And a bit of voiceover in the middle of it. I mean, I thought it was a little bit dodgy, to be perfectly honest.
You kind of wonder what sort of documentary they're making if they're not using actual.
Well, it's probably, it's probably something for Channel 5 called, When Royal Visits Go Horribly Wrong.
Yeah, with everyone but anyone close to her at all. Yeah.
I did do one of those, actually, and it was my first job of this year, and I was very thrilled about it because it was called When All-Inclusive Holidays Go Horribly Wrong. And I just sort of thought, well, this is a very particular
Yeah.
niche subject.
That's not a title, is it? That's like a blurb.
Oh my God. And they were horrific stories as well. It was terrible. Anyway.
Right. Well, I mean, the inevitable question is, how did you start out as an impressionist? Were you doing impressions when you were younger, or how did it begin for you?
Well, I did do impressions when I was younger. I used to do impressions of my mum. And my mum sort of, we're from the Northwest, so my mum sounded a bit kind of, Hyacinth Bouquet. So my mum had lots of very choice phrases, like if she thought somebody was rather overly experienced and enthusiastic in the bed department, she'd say, "Oh, I bet she's a bundle of joy in a bunk." And if she thought somebody had like a grumpy face, she'd say, "Oh, a face like a fried shoe." And my favourite one was if she thought somebody was being too boastful about the achievements of their children, she'd sort of say, "Well, Jean Parry, Barbara, all her geese are swans." So I started off doing her, and then I went on to do the teachers at school, and then the teachers at school would all ask to see the impressions of the other teachers, and quite often they themsells. But I mean, I never thought oh, this is brilliant, I'm going to have a career as an impressionist, because I was brought up in this town called Hoylake on the Wirral, where Glenda Jackson was from. Glenda Jackson was very successful at the time, so Glenda Jackson was like my role model, because she was in like Elizabeth R, and she was in A Touch of Class, and she had that marvelous voice, that was, so I really wanted to be Glenda Jackson. Right. But then I went to teacher training college in Cambridge and didn't go to drama school, and got into the whole footlights thing, and then got into comedy, sort of, took to, the road less travelled from sort of theatre, went into the sort of comedy side. But I still didn't kind of think, well, now here's a career beckoning in funny voices. And it wasn't really till I did a show called Carrot's Lib with Jasper Carrot in 1983, and I did an agony aunt called Claire Rayner. Oh, yeah. I was very breathless, will you ring me up? You tell me really not to, and I only later discovered that the reason she spoke like that was that she had emphysema.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I met her and she really liked it. She took it all in very good heart. Right. Crap lungs, but very good heart. And so I did her, and I did a couple of other impressions. So then I got asked to do Spitting Image. Right. As the result of that. And so then you're like, oh, well, you're an impressionist now. That'll do. Okay. We've got you. We know who you are.
Is that so then sometimes, I was going to say, is that sometimes the thing that you feel you need to work against, or does it frustrate you?
Yeah. Because I think people are becoming more sort of open to casting comedians in dramas, but I think they're still quite reticent about casting impressionists. And I don't know if that's because impressionists, because you're sort of an outsider, you're sort of on the outside looking in and kind of taking the piss, and maybe people are a bit sort of intimidated by that sometimes. I'm not sure. I mean, it's, especially as a woman, it's kind of not quite nice to be constantly sort of taking the piss. So I think I have tried to, and actually when lockdown happened, much to my sorrow, I was actually doing at Watford Palace Theatre, not a million miles from you.
No, yeah.
I was doing Talking Heads.
Oh, I saw you were doing that,
2 of the Alan Bennett monologues. So I did Lady of Letters and Soldiering On. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I was always meant to do. I mean, I'm Northern, I'm comic, I can feel these women, and I just so sort of enmeshed with them and was loving it. And then 10 days into the run, got taken off.
Right.
And
so
you'd
actually started. You'd started the actual run.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey.
Then what happens? Old Madam gets in. Imelda Staunton.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I saw that. Yeah.
Harriet Walter doing. So I mean, my God, if you can get Imelda Staunton, why wouldn't you? But yeah, it was quite sort of. They were mine for a minute.
You've just been doing it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was really sad. Anyway, I mean, they do want to bring it back, but God knows when theatre's going to open. So anyway,
that's the trouble, isn't it? No, it's theatre. But
do you find when you approach an impression, is it similar to how you approach a character in an acting role, or are they very different? Because obviously it's, you're using someone's specific traits, but is it a similar thing, or does it use a different part of your brain, do you think?
Well, if you're doing an impression for a sketch, yes, it is a different sort of process, I guess, in some senses, because you do, you're judged on various things. I mean, you're judged on, is it funny? Is your timing right? All that kind of thing. But you're also, how much like them are you?
Yeah.
And that's why really doing them on radio is quite good, because you haven't got that thing of like, oh, well, it doesn't look very much like Anne Widdecombe, or you don't look very much like, Amy Winehouse, or whoever it is you're doing, And so with the radio, you can create the picture.
Yeah.
And I think actually people also do like it on stage, because on stage, if you, you stand there and you move, so 1 minute you're being Theresa May, and you're tensed up, and you're, talking in this diplophonic voice, and you're like that. And then the next minute you're Kirsty Warwick, and you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap lousy faggot, more of that story later. And, so you're sort of, and, I think people like seeing you move from one to the other and go, oh my God, that's a good trick. But the best ones, I think, although you're kind of approaching it from how does she say that vowel sound? Because when I'm doing Lise Doucette or somebody like that, the vowel sounds are so bizarre that, if I'm doing a Lise Doucette sketch, I literally go through it and sort of notate each vowel sound as to how it changes. And often with a new voice, I'll do that as well. So how they say that vowel sound or that consonant, and I'll sort of notate it like that.
Yeah.
So obviously it is a technical thing, and all the different characters have a tune, like Sandy Toxley, just goes up and down like a sort of disgruntled jet, sort of.
Yeah.
So if it was on a sort of one of those things, it would go like that. But also I think the most effective ones have a character, and it is something to do with not just with how they appear, because obviously an impression, it's a sort of satirical thing. You're presenting you're presenting a version of how that character presents themselves to the world. You're not doing what an actor does, which is looking from the inside out and saying, how does this all feel for me? But I think, when you capture the real spirit of a character, like with, and some impressions you do and some you don't. And I felt that sort of, maybe like with Theresa May, that's sort of what I, because the sort of the soul of that character was this held, tense person, and that's sort of what people sort of latched onto. And another one that I really liked, that I loved the sort of spirit of, which was ages ago now, was Ellen MacArthur, the Round the World Yachtswoman. Do you remember her? She's going, I've got to go up the mast and bend the sail. Just don't know what I'm going to do. It's really stormy and my hands are all sore. Feel I've let everybody down. And, we used to do her sort of doing her washing, going, put some red knickers in with the white T-shirts. Just feel I've let everybody down. I don't know what to do. And it was just that. I mean, I was sort of like so admiring of her, because there she was, in the Southern Ocean, just her.
Yeah.
And it was like, literally feel the fear and do it anyway. I mean, it wasn't that she wasn't scared. She was absolutely shit scared. But she was still doing it. And I thought, my God, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And that sort of little voice feeling that she'd let everybody down. I just loved her. And actually I heard Steve Coogan talking the other day, on a programme with Frank Cottrell Boyce. I think it was Something Understood. It's on your BBC Sounds app. And he was talking about how, and he was doing Oliver Postgate, the Ivor the Engine and all that. And he was doing these voices and saying how there are some voices that give you a sort of, they're just lovely to do because they make you feel lovely. It's like Penelope Wilton. because, whatever Penelope Wilton says, I found a pube in the shower. I know it sounds horrible, but it's actually lovely when I say it. And there's just something so lovely and comforting about Penelope Wilton.
Yeah.
Or Thora Hird, God bless loves. Oh, it's just like putting on a comfy cardigan. And they just make you feel lovely. And it's nice to kind of have a go of them, because they give you a lovely feeling.
Do you feel you have to like the person generally to do an impression of them, or does it matter at all, do you think?
No, you don't have to like them. That would rather limit you, to be honest.
True. But it's nice when you do, is the thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. With someone, I mean, what you're saying about doing it on stage and people seeing the physicality of it, do you feel like when you're doing it on TV, like Theresa May, for example, and having to wear a wig and dress up, does that feel like does it restrict you, or does it help with the character that you're doing? Because we've seen you live, and when you do kind of inhabit the character without any makeup or anything else, so having to add that, does that help, or do you find that a bit kind of annoying sometimes?
Well, as I say, it's great fun. I mean, we did Dead Ringers on the telly for about 7 years, I think, in the 2000 to 2007, I think, and it was great fun dressing up. It was great fun. I mean, it was very laborious because, in order to do Fiona Bruce, I had to have my own eyebrows blanked out, new eyebrows drawn in. Here I am, eyebrow cocked and ready, and don't think you're getting into my bubble. So you'd be an hour in makeup, just sort of staring at yourself, and then you'd go on to the set and do the sketch. And you'd probably knock it off in 10 minutes. Yeah. And then you'd be back in the makeup chair. So it was, and sometimes these bloody prosthetics, which is, a nightmare of, I hated the prosthetics. But it's fun. It's like, oh my, because it does give you a bit of if you do get to look like them.
Yeah.
I mean, doing all the Fiona Bruce, all these stupid Fiona Bruce things I used to do of her on Crime Watch, sort of, posing on the desk. And, there were some really fun things to do. But actually, it's more freeing not to.
Yeah.
Right.
And doing the radio, and actually, as you say, the stage, I think, is the best. There's nothing better than being in a theatre and giving people a good time. It's just the best, as you know. It's just the best feeling.
And I suppose a bit like doing the voices on the radio, you get to let them do some of the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
To see the characters.
Yes,
it's a bit more fun.
Their imagination. Yeah.
It says on various things I've read online, but you started as a producer, as a comedy producer. Was that, or did I say start? Yeah. Was that after Footlights? Then did kind of.
Yeah, it was because of Footlights, really.
Oh, okay.
Because. Well, when I was at Cambridge, I acted and was in the Footlights reviews, and I also directed things.
Oh, right.
And I directed a show that I'd written, and I directed the Gilbert and Sullivan, the University Gilbert and Sullivan, HMS Pinafore, which I did sort of on the town, like the sort of Gene Kelly film, and I directed it all to look like that. And the sailors were dancing with mops, and it was great fun. Mm-hmm. And then I left Cambridge, and then Hugh Laurie, who was the president the following year, asked me to go back and direct the Footlights review the following year, for which he and Stephen were the main writers. Right. And Emma Thompson was also in it, and Tony Slattery, and it was and it won the first Perrier Award.
Right.
And so
that's one hell of a cast as well.
Yeah.
Amazing cast to be working with.
Yeah. So a few months before that, I'd applied for a job as a BBC comedy producer in radio, which was a sort of very well-trodden path for the guys. So there was John Lloyd and Geoffrey Perkins and Griff Rhys-Jones and Jimmy Mulville, who'd all trodden this path of Oxbridge BBC. Mm. But I applied, and I didn't get the job that time round. But then they came to see this show, the Sellotapes, that won the Perrier, and so then they offered me a job as a comedy producer. Right. But I wasn't very good at it.
For what
I wasn't
reason?
very good. I wasn't very good at being sort of, I didn't really like the routine. I didn't really like turning up at the office every day and having to fill in a PSB form and all that palaver. It was like. and I think it was quite young to be the person with whom the buck stopped.
Right.
It was like 22 or something.
Right, yeah.
And the first woman producer in the comedy department. So,
Wow.
And I'd already been the first woman president of Footlights and the first woman to direct the Footlights Review. And it was kind of great, but actually it was just so stressful because I just was thinking, if I fuck this up, they're never going to ask another one.
Yeah.
Which is just the most ridiculous situation
Crazy.
to be in. Did it feel like an issue at the time, you being the first one?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, big time. I mean, it was... the BBC, when I joined the BBC, I mean, it was like, when you went to the bar, it was like being in a golf club or something. It was like, hello, boy.
Right.
Oh, I don't know, gin and tonic. Hello, gin and tonic. This is Jock. This is Bobby. And, it's all marvellous. Yeah. And, they were literally sort of twirling their moustaches. I mean, it was another world.
Yeah.
Absolutely another world.
Was that before kind of people like French and Saunders and that they sort of came along? So it was, wow, so it really was just... male orientation.
Yeah, I mean, Victoria Wood was in fact, Victoria Wood came and played a gig in the Footlights Club Room, which was this dank cellar in the bottom of a building in Cambridge, and about 20 people turned up, and
but amazing, I imagine.
It was amazing. I mean, it wasn't as amazing as she turned out to be, but I mean, it was. It was really funny. It was really funny. I mean, she was doing Matt's Life, I think, at the time.
Right, yeah.
It was about that time. So, late 70s, early 80s. I'm very old.
But, also, I love your impression of Victoria Wood and the thing where you sing that song about, essentially about what it's like to lose her.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful, really lovely. So good. You bring it to life.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do the song now, but the song is on YouTube, Victoria Wood song. And... it's both a tribute to Victoria and a sort of parody of her, written by my first ex-husband and Steve Brown. And he is the most brilliant lyricist. I mean, because a lot of the jokes are almost as good as Victoria Wood's, it's like a joker line. Yeah. And, but really kind of heartfelt because, there will never be another. And she was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. A message on the chat from Josa. Comedy and impressions are far harder than drama. I'd cast you as a tragic heroine like a shot, with comedy asides.
Oh, that's so nice, isn't it?
Yeah. And she also says, chaps, can you imagine how weird it is for ultra-talented women like Jan being the first to do anything? And we're still young. You are still young, definitely.
Yeah.
But what led you back to performing then? Was it the sense that the producer thing wasn't quite what you wanted to do, or was it just the job came up, or...
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd always wanted to. I'd always wanted to perform, and I'd always wanted to act. So, I mean, the producing thing was the opportunity that came up at the time, and like I say, I found I wasn't that suited to the sort of administration of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I just wanted to perform, and I am a natural performer and a communicator. I'm not a natural administrator. Yeah. At all. And so I think there were a couple of opportunities came up, and actually I had already formed another sort of sketch group with Sandy Toksvig and Bridget Lama, who runs the Watford Palace Theatre, where I do Talking Heads, and we formed this group called Flying Ducks, and we did, some gigs and did a little, I actually remember any of the gigs that we did now. Right. But I do remember we had some headed note paper with 3 flying ducks on it, which was, that's how sort of,
It's official.
I don't know. I mean, what were we doing with headed note paper? Anyway, so I had already sort of dipped a toe in the water. And then I spoke to an agent, Vivian Claw, who at the time was David Jason's agent, and I'd worked with David Jason on Weekending, a topical news program that was a sort of precursor to Dead Ringers, really. Right. And I said, I don't know what I want to perform, but I need to get an agent. And she said, I'll be your agent, right? Because she'd seen me do the warm up on the sort of live comedy things at the Radio Theatre. Right. So she said, I'll be your agent. So that was that.
Right, yeah. What I always love about what you do is your energy is just fantastic, and I think that's particularly visible when you do when you see you live, and I just think that's great. So I can see why you wanted to go back to performance, because it just seems like a natural thing for you.
Yeah. It's such a kind. I mean, you feed so much off. It sounds so wanky, but I mean, you do feed so much off an audience, and once an audience start laughing, once you sort of gain their confidence at the beginning. It's it's just such a lovely ride. It's just so you're not supposed to say that anymore, are you? It's a great ride. But it is. It's just a joy. So yeah, well, thank you anyway.
You're welcome. Do you feel? Did you prefer being like a collaborator, like working with people like Sandy, or working as a group, or do you prefer working on your own? Was it a big jump to working on your own, or did it just sort of come naturally?
I do like working with people, and I don't, I've never written all my own material.
Right.
I'm not. I think partly because of starting out with people like Stephen and Hugh. It didn't seem to hold Emma back, mind you, but I always felt a bit sort of reticent about, whether I could write funny stuff, and I have written a lot, but I always feel I can't do it on my own. So,
right.
So I collaborate, or what I quite often do is I say, let's do a sketch where this happens and that happens, and this is the concept and the characters like that.
Yeah.
Now you write it.
Right. Yeah.
And quite a lot of the characters in Dead Ringers kind of came up like that, like the Fiona Bruce one, and things like the Kirsty Allsop character, on location, and all those things. So I love collaborating, because I'm a sort of social animal. I'm not.
Yeah.
And quite frequently, people said, you should write a book. You should, And I think, the solitariness of writing. I mean, I know even writers, find that hard. I mean, I don't know a writer that finds writing easy.
No, exactly.
All writers find writing hard, and I think maybe I haven't got that sort of discipline or that sort of temperament, maybe to maybe it'll come as I get older and pipe down a bit.
Do you think that when you were starting out, it was that because all the people that you mentioned, all the people you were working with, they're all just, fantastic performers, from David Jason to Brian Laurie to all those sort of things. It's almost like there was something in the water in like Cambridge and Oxford at the time. Do you think that it was it's very hard to say, because I think we look at it, these are the people that I watched as I was growing up and made me want to do comedy. So maybe I look at it and go, oh, these are like very, very special people. Do you think it was a particularly special group of people around you, or was it just the opportunity that you were given that allowed you to flourish? Or it's an awkward question to answer, I suppose.
David Jason, as we said, wasn't Cambridge. David Jason was an electrician who became an actor, but incredibly talented comic performer, obviously. But I think at Cambridge, it's so many, all these people had, a lot of talent and a lot of opportunity, and a lot of opportunity to practice, because the Footlights, was kind of funded, it's sort of, or rather we did a tour in the summer that, that made money. So there was money to sort of, to do stuff. And I mean, it was incredibly lucky, but I mean, Emma, I so admired Emma. I was so absolutely thrilled. I mean, Emma always had a kind of glow about her and a kind of sheen of confidence. I can remember the first minute she walked into the Footlights club room to audition for Aladdin, the pantomime, that year. And she walked in and I just thought, oh, fuck. Because she just kind of was so effortlessly confident, and I think that, as like after Cambridge, she just walked into Me and My Girl and Fortunes of War, but then the brilliant thing was that she did all these fabulous acting roles, and then she bloody got an Oscar for screenwriting.
Yeah, incredible.
Which was just, after all this, with Stephen and Hugh, it was kind of like, oh my God, that Stephen and Hugh have written this one kind of thing. And and you know, that it was brilliant stuff. But then the idea that Emma got the Oscar for screenwriting, I was just like, yes, you know, it was so brilliant.
Yeah. I love the story as well about her nearly losing the screenplay on her computer and Stephen Fry having to go and rescue it for her.
Oh, really?
So she said she very nearly lost it and had to call him, which would be terrible. But yeah, I mean, I also find it fascinating that a lot of these people, I presume, weren't studying a performance course, but they went, you know, because some people, like I read Robert Webb's autobiography, and he talked about specifically going to Cambridge because he wanted to be in the Footlights, because he wanted to be a performer. And I kind of find that fascinating when a lot of them weren't necessarily doing any kind of performance-based course, but yet had that opportunity.
Oh, no.
So
yeah, because I think Hugh was doing archaeology and anthropology.
Right.
Stephen and Emma were both doing English. But I think, you know, once you, I mean, I think a lot of people went to Cambridge not just for the, you know, not just for the course they were doing. I mean, I trained as a drama teacher.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, teaching practice was, you know, very nearly a write-off because I was like writing, directing and performing in the Footlights pantomime in the same term that I was doing my final teaching practice.
Right. Well, it seems to work out.
Which is not, I mean, you know, God, respect to teachers, my God, you know, because, that is, you know, you can't have an off night or an off day as a teacher, you know, you've got to be right on it all the time. I'm so admiring of brilliant teachers. There's this brilliant book, I don't know if you've read it, but it's by Kate Clanchy, and it's called something like Some Kids I Taught and What They Taught Me or something. And she was an English teacher in some very mixed ability schools, and she worked with the kids that were sort of chucked out of all the other lessons, and the poetry they wrote, and she drew these kids out, and she's still doing it now. She posts it on Twitter.
Right.
But she must be the most brilliant teacher. And I just think, my God, I just can't imagine what that's like to work with these really troubled kids, you know, and many of them sort of refugees and stuff like that. And draw out this poetry from them. Which is brilliant.
Yeah, I've certainly got a newfound respect for teachers, having done a lot of homeschooling the last few months.
Oh my goodness. How old are your kids?
Oldest is 6, nearly 7. The youngest is 3. So you've got one who's been homeschooling, but it's been a daily challenge. So,
you weren't grey when you started,
I'm
were
sure.
you?
I wasn't grey when I started, no, but there's
just
definitely a hell of a lot of grey there. Yeah, now.
You're not as grey as me. The ocean chose you.
Do you think you would have been a teacher if things had landed a different way, or did you always was it really performance or nothing for you, do you think?
No, it was basically my parents saying, you know, you've got to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
And also at the time that I went to university, college, you couldn't get a grant to go to drama school, whereas you could get a grant. So I got a full grant.
Right.
And went to teacher training college. But my drama teacher at school, well, she was my art teacher, she directed the school plays. She said, "Oh, you must, I was at Homerton, you must go to Homerton, marvellous, you know, punting on the backs and, you know, divine and all that." And then I had actually, as a kid, my dad, who was, you know, quite a simple soul, actually, my dad, who was very bright, but not well educated, but he loved you know, Spike Milligan and Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, not only but also, and then we'd watch the Pythons together, and then it sort of like, you know, it became obvious that all these people sort of had something in common. So when Mary Metcalf suggested that I go to Cambridge, it was like, oh wow, all those guys went there, you know. So that was quite a draw.
Was that also a pressure, do you think? Because particularly being the president of the Footlights, but knowing the sort of people that have passed through it already, do you feel, does it give you confidence to be there, or was it, you know, was it pressured, or was it a bit of both, really?
I think both, actually. I think it gives you a sort of, I mean, when I look back and think of the things I did at Cambridge, I mean, like direct that review and direct and choreograph the Gilbert and Sullivan thing.
Right, yeah.
How did I, you know, do that? I have no idea how I did it, boss all these people around. And I was very bossy, but I was terrified as well. but you have that sort of confidence of youth, like, well, what's the worst that happens? I mean, now I get anxious about, getting up in the morning. But then it was sort of like, oh, well, yeah, all right, I'll do that then. I'll do that. I think it's sort of like anything was possible. But then I can remember being on the phone to my mum, from Cambridge, crying in a phone box saying, I had to run to the show and it is opening tomorrow and I don't know who's going to, and everybody's going to hate me and think I'm rubbish, But yeah, it was. I mean, I think what's hard about it is, I sort of like, I heard Helen Mirren on the radio go, I don't like the word career, my body of work, and the word career does seem mad when things are up and down like that all the time. I mean, I've done some really nice work and I've had some really lovely times, and I kind of think. I look back and I think, wow, that's amazing. Janet from Hoylake, has done that. But then, you look at yourself, I can't help saying, yeah, but look at Emma Thompson.
Right. Yeah.
And you think,
but then everyone's doing that. She's presumably doing that with someone else. It's just sort of the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but it's such a fruitless, quest, that, isn't it? To kind of go, am I as good as her? As she? And we're all just doing the best we can, aren't we? But I think that is quite hard because there's so many successful people in your peer group that if you're having a bit of a fallow period, you sort of think, I'm the crap one then, But I mean, I don't feel that. I mean, actually, that whole thing of like looking back at what you've done and sort of a body of work and stuff, particularly at the moment, you kind of think, well, if it does all go tits up, I mean, in general and for me in particular, I kind of think, you've had a good run here. You've had a good run. I'm 62. You've had a good run, actually. And hopefully it will carry on and I'll do lots more lovely stuff and go touring with Rory again and it'll all be great. But if it doesn't, I mean, the people I feel sorry for are the young people, like, my son Alfie, who's a comedian, my son Lenny, who's a bass player, my son Louis, who's just left Manchester University. Well, actually, I think he's going to go back and do an MA because nobody in his year has got a job.
Really?
Nobody.
That's the thing, isn't it? When you're at that point where you've just started.
Yeah.
It's a bit amazing,
so
actually.
Hard for them.
I was thinking the other day, this whole time has been like a real leveler for the entertainment industry in terms of people, like you say about comparing yourself against other people that you know and people that you've sort of grown up with and so. But when everyone is out of work and everyone is suddenly going, we've all got nothing, it's interesting to look at everyone and go, wow, we're all in the same. You really sort of feel like you don't feel like there's any kind of hierarchy. It's like, well, we're just all the same. We are, you kind of reminds you of, in a positive way, that reminds you that you are, everyone's the same, no one's bigger than anyone else in a sense, because we're all just in that position at the moment, which is horrible, but good. Is there anything particular that you haven't done that you'd like to do,
other than Talking Heads again?
Other than Talking Heads, obviously.
Talking Heads again.
More of that.
Talking Heads again, and more acting. Actually, I would like to do more of the sort of just touring and doing stuff and making people laugh, and that's all great. But I do love plays, and I have had a number of periods in my life where, particularly when you're doing impressions, if you're doing a lot of satire, where you are doing this thing, if you're being the watcher, the outsider, you're sort of bringing people down and you're pricking pomposity and all that, you sometimes think, oh, I just want to be the one that's in it. I want to sort of immerse myself in some beautiful language and a lovely story and somebody else's kind of world, which is sort of what acting gives you. And that is such a thrill. And even like, with Alan Bennett, where the world you're, immersing yourself in is a poor old lady in a front room, kind of seeing the worst in everybody. But then, the brilliant redemption at the end of that Lady of Letters, the one that Imelda Staunton did, that fabulous redemption where the woman who was so unforgiving of everybody and found, saw the worst in everyone and was such a horrible busybody and, force of negativity, suddenly, at the end is in prison and suddenly finds this ability to forgive and love and give out to people, and it's such a sort of gorgeous arc of redemption and forgiveness. And because he's so funny, Alan Bennett, but there's a hell of a lot more to it than that. Yeah. And he, it is a masterwork. Those talking. I mean, some of them are better than others, but some of them, it's just, and the rhythms of them. Oh my God, the jokes! It's just amazing.
It's like I'm a big fan of Gorton and Simpson and Hancock's Half Hour, and they're so perfectly written that I was talking to Kevin Eldon about it because he did the remakes of the Lost episodes, and I said, is it hard to do? And he said, well, no, because you just read the line and the rhythm does it for you because it's so well written, which is amazing.
Yes, it's funny actually watching Imelda Staunton and Harriet Walter doing the monologues that I did. And there are some of the things, that they make different choices and do different things. But there are some of those lines that, like you say, there's just a way to do that line, and the rhythm is there for you, and that's the way you do it. And it's lovely.
Do you think performing has kept you young and active in mind? Because I love that, you're saying about what you want to do next and the good body of work you've done. But people in the real world might be considering retiring, and we don't really do that. You just sort of, but do you think, I don't know if it's a silly question because, I know it's also a stressful job to work in, but do you think it's kept your energy going, your brain firing,
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think having Alfie, my son, in comedy and kind of meeting so many, and being involved in him and his girlfriend, Jessie Cave, who's also incredibly creative and a sort of talented writer and performer. And, being in Edinburgh with them and hanging out, it's sort of like, wow, this is it's, and I mean, when Alfie was 2, I was doing Alexi Sale's stuff on the BBC. And Alexi had this, the sort of Sig tune was like Alexi doing like the Mickey Mouse Club. So it was like, who's the leader of the gang that's great for you and me? ALEXEISAYLE. And so it was like, who's an ugly bastard and as fat as he can be? It was so Alfie watched Alexi Sale, and lots of the sketches were very bizarre and quite visual. So he loved it. I mean, it was very rude. So it's not surprising Alfie's turned out the way he has. But a lot of it, is very rude. But I didn't give a shit about that. And it was, and he loved it. And so Alexi would come to a party, and it would be like Mickey Mouse. It turned out, Alfie was like, oh my God. But I mean, like right from the beginning, he was, in that world, I suppose. I mean, not all the time, but it was like that world was part of his growing up. And I mean, next son went the other way. He became the silent bass player, the back of the band, and Alfie's like,
Is it hard having children in the same sort of business that you're in?
It is at the moment.
Well, yeah, particularly, but But like the concern of the things you might have experienced that weren't so good and how it will be for them. And like you say, at the moment, particularly.
I mean, it is. And it's, but then again, I was never one of those, I live in West London, and there are a lot of parents who seem to think that there's a God-given right that because they're middle class, their kids will go to university. And I kind of always, I've got friends who sort of go, oh dear, she's really not good at, I don't know what she's going to do, I don't know how many A-levels she's going to be able to take. And I think maybe she shouldn't take any A-levels. Maybe, school's not for her. And, school wasn't for Alfie, wasn't interested. And he's incredibly bright. And now he writes all these philosophical rants and, all this kind of thing. But school just didn't work. And it doesn't work for some kids. It's, school is very much geared, apart from, very rare example. School is geared to sort of basically one kind of child that is able to sort of take stuff in and regurgitate it out again. And if you can't do that, or you sort of choose not to do that, then it doesn't work for you. And I think it's such a shame that, and that's, you hear of all sorts of people who, I was dyslexic and now look at me, I'm Richard Branson. Maybe that's not such a good example, but it's not always the case that just because you're successful at school, you'll be, successful at life. And so I think, they had to, I was always of the opinion they had to do what they wanted to do and follow their star kind of thing. And they have, and we'll be all right. We'll all be all right. And we'll see each other through, kind of thing, whatever it takes during this time. But my youngest son, Louis, the one that's come out of Manchester, he was doing politics. So he's been doing all these, dissertations on, voting behaviour and data collection and all this. So it's like, oh my God, so I've got one of these children now, this is like one of these children that, does proper stuff. And, proofreading his dissertation for him, I was like, oh, hello, this is new. This is new. And so, I mean, that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Because he also does like DJing and production and stuff like that.
Wow, that's quite extreme from one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he does have a creative side, but I think he's quite pragmatic,
right? Yeah,
as well.
I suppose. I mean, my kids are a little bit young to sort of think about it yet. But my kind of thought is in terms of career. I'm always thinking, I know my mum and dad said this to me, but as long as you have a sort of a goal and what you want to do, it's better to have that and be sort of, to be certain about what you want to do is better than just going to university because that's what you should do. It's kind of I'd much rather my children had a path.
There's a weird pressure to know what you want to do at a specific time, because I think when you're at school,
it's
hard to know that. Yeah.
And like people like us, I think, because you wanted to be a performer, you always knew you wanted to do that, so you had that thing you wanted to follow. But lots of people. I mean, why would you specifically know at 17 or 18 or 19 or whatever?
You wouldn't. But I think if you do, then that's
great. Yeah,
great. It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that people, there's that's that whole thing of the generation of parents that I am. Our parents were all like, nobody's looking at you. Don't get too big for your boots. Whereas my parenting is like, oh darling, that's wonderful, you've done so well, that's beautiful, good for you. And they're now saying that we've gone too far that way, and that it's not a good thing to say you're wonderful all the time. But the thing is to not praise the result, but praise the effort, to say, right, I'm really pleased you worked really hard at that. Good for you. You've really put a lot of effort in. Well done. Because if you just sort of say everything's brilliant when it's not really, you're giving them a false idea of the world.
I guess it's just being truthful and honest, but in a nice way, rather than because it's got to be from the heart, I think.
Or sometimes not truthful, but yeah.
I'm the one that's not a parent, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
But you're learning so many lessons here.
This is it. I watch Glyn do it all wrong, and then I go, okay,
that's the way to do it. Yeah, exactly.
That poem, "They fuck you up, your mum and dad."
Yes.
I mean, I sort of find that really comforting, because it's like, they may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had, and then some others just for you. It's like we're all fucking it up. Yeah. And like my parents fucked it up one way, I've fucked it up another way, and my kids. Well, and Alfie's got, 2 and another one on the way. So, I mean, he's busy doing it his way now. So, we just, but we're all well-intentioned, we're loving, but we're bound to do things wrong. Parenting's a very complicated business.
Yeah.
And you go into it with no experience. You just have to sort of work your way out of it, which is, We've got a message again from Josa, who's the only one giving us messages tonight. She says, retiring, our generation will never retire, at least not the creative ones. So there you go.
That's true. That's very true, Josa. Yeah, it's like, why would you want to when you're having such fun?
Yeah, that's it. I can't. It's not a thing I would ever really. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not at that point yet, but consider. I don't, unless I always want to follow my heart and do what I want to do and be creative and be involved. It's even like things like this, because you're doing these sort of things. It's not like it brings in a massive income, but you do it because you want to do it. You want to sort of talk to people. You want to get that out for other people as well. So I don't think I'm really working to retire, if you know what I mean. Is this working?
No.
I'm not really sure.
No.
I don't know.
No, but that's because you have the huge privilege of enjoying your work.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a privilege, because a lot of people, I've got to sort of, I've got to earn some money, I've got to earn a living, I've got to keep my family.
Yeah.
So I've got to do this job, and it's, it's a bit boring and a bit shitty, but I'll do that, and then I'll kind of, relax at the weekend and go fishing or, whatever I do. So if you are in that privileged position of enjoying what you do and able to earn a living at it, then why would you want to stop? And it keeps your brain going. I mean, my mum and lots of my relatives had dementia.
Right.
So the longer I can keep my brain going, the better. I've got to cherish every day I've got these brain cells.
And it's that thing that they say, and it's much better to be doing different things every day. That's really good for your brain. These are the things that help you continue. But when I'm not putting a wash on and watching Escape to the Country, which is basically life now,
using all my brain cells.
I honestly have never done so much washing. I feel like I'm doing it every day, and it's all I really do. I think it's bizarre.
Washing, cooking, that's the things.
I love washing. There's nothing lovelier than the smell of fresh laundry.
Are you an ironer, or do you not do that?
I don't mind ironing. I don't mind ironing.
Because my wife doesn't, and I do. That's where we differ.
Really?
But she sort of gets away with it. I kind of have to iron things to make myself look the best version of me, whereas she just looks
I do it on
good
certain
regardless.
days.
So.
If I'm going out, I'd iron something, but otherwise it's an effort, isn't it?
I don't know why we got to iron.
Quite nice though. It's nice, there's something very, you put the iron on and it looks instantly better. I mean, it's very sort of instant gratification, really.
It's sort of a mindfulness thing as well, isn't it? You just enjoy doing a thing for the sake of doing it.
Very good, yes, David. Very mindful. Be in the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
But we should really let you go, because we've been talking for a long time. But thank you so much, Jan. It's been lovely.
Have I done enough funny bits? I feel I haven't. Has it all been all?
No, but it's a joy to just hear you talk. It doesn't have to be funny, and there've been plenty of funny things. I think there's a misconception. I mean, our club is called Mostly Comedy for a kick-off, so it doesn't have to be.
Not all comedy.
It's the Get Out clause. That's what we have. It's always
disclaimer. And. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention we share the same birthday.
Yeah, we
do.
You,
me,
all
and
of us. Yeah.
All of us.
All of us. Yeah. 14th of May.
14th of May. Yeah.
It's weird. Which I think Eric Morecambe's birthday as well, I believe.
Yes.
So we're in good company.
I would say, typical Taurian, earthy, passionate, and prone to run to fat.
and on that bombshell,
I like that.
Oh look, Pete Haynes says, "Great to listen to you, Jan." That's nice.
Oh, that's
Thank
nice.
you, Pete.
He's lovely. He's a big Mostly Comedy
nice.
supporter. He comes to all of the gigs. He's one of our
thank you,
people.
Pete. Well, hopefully we'll see Pete in real life before too long.
Yeah, please come back to Mostly Comedy when we can do that thing. That'd be great to have you back.
And in the meantime,
I'd love to.
And in the meantime, stay well. Enjoy your time.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for joining
you.
in. It's all great to join in.
Thank you, Jan. Take care. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Lots of love.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Jan Ravens.
Yes, it was. Yes.
And while it was a lovely chat, I am slightly disappointed that she didn't remember being an uncredited goblin in Labyrinth, because that was all we booked her for, really.
And now I'm slightly doubting everything I ever read on Wikipedia once again. And obviously, you could never believe everything.
It's almost like people lie on it.
Well,
Although to be fair, it wasn't Wikipedia, Glyn. It was IMDb. So
of course, you had it on that, didn't you?
Yeah. But now I'm going to have to listen to all the goblins in Labyrinth to see if I can place one that sounds like Jan Ravens, which is hard because she obviously can do lots of different voices.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one to do, and to isolate them individually as well. I mean, you'd have to kind of get some sort of
lot of work
software that divides all the voices up,
because there's a lot of goblins in Labyrinth.
Yeah, the trouble is we had to scrap like you said, a whole page of questions of was she also the hands when she Sarah fell down all those hands, and she'd get to do that.
Did she see David Bowie in those trousers?
Yeah.
Was she perhaps inside the trousers? Perhaps that was what that was.
Yeah.
And also, did she meet Hoggle? That's what I wanted to know. Did you meet Hoggle?
The big question.
But no, all of that was scrapped. So it's also a waste of paper as well. So it's very disappointing.
What we just have to do now is we have to find someone who was in the labyrinth, however small a part they played, so we can use those questions.
I'm trying to think of anyone that in any way. Danny John Jules is probably the closest we can get, because I know he was a voice in it, and obviously we've had various Red Dwarf people.
That's true. Yeah.
Outside of that, I'm stuck. What was the big Sarah Friend thing?
Who was the guy? You know what we could do is we could
Sorry,
find
by the way, that we've gone off subject, but yeah.
We could find the guy or the girl. I can't remember who it was. A woman. It might have been a woman who did who was David Bowie's hands.
Oh, with the ball
doing the balls, because that wasn't his hands. That was someone else's hands. So find that person, because that would be an interesting.
What was he doing with his hands?
What was he doing, and what's he done since? What's he done since that ball?
He's dead.
Thing
to be fair, so not a lot recently, but I think it's fair to say that while Labyrinth is a good film, it's not the high point of David Bowie's career. He did many other things.
No.
To be fair,
no.
Maybe we could find the CGI'd owl at the beginning. Do you remember that in the credits?
Was there a CGI'd owl?
Yeah, in the credits.
CGI in that film?
Well, I say CGI is like Sinclair Spectrum +2 graphics of it. Anyway, back to Jan Ravens. Well, we had a lovely chat as you heard, and as we sort of mentioned at the beginning. I mean, it's not just about this, because her in herself, she's a great performer, has done some wonderful things, but all the people she's worked with. I mean, it just and I was also thinking about. When she directed stuff, I could see her being a good director, because she's a very good communicator. She explains things in a very sort of energized way. Yes. So I can imagine her. But you're directing a cast which is Fry and Laurie, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Emma Thompson, Tony Slattery.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's incredible. Is it just I suppose it's hard when you're in that situation, and it's not to speak for her, but I imagine you don't really, you never really compute. No. That's the situation you're in, because that's just your people, it's just your friends, and obviously you are all of that particular moment at that point, and obviously as years go on, like she said about Emma Thompson, and looking at her career, but at the time, and I suppose even now, it must be difficult to kind of really look at those people and go, they are who they are, because you just know them as people.
And that was the thing I was didn't really have a question, but sort of trying to ask, were you aware at the time? Because there's a weird thing when, you're surrounded by talented people, you've done the thing that a lot of people have done, you're in the footlights, it's a weird, is it a pressure, is it not a pressure when you're in the midst of that? And I suppose the answer is, like she said, they were young, and when you're young, you have a different level of confidence in what you're doing, that as you get a little bit older, you get a little bit more cautious, I think. You overthink, perhaps.
Does that mean we're now older then? Because that's the way
we're definitely older. We're definitely older, Glyn. We're like, the phrase pushing 40 is now in the air.
Really?
That's not old. Well, I'm 40 next year. You're 40 the year after.
It pushing 40? Yeah, I suppose.
Well, push, because you're heading towards it.
Yeah.
We've been pushing 40 for fucking years. So to be fair,
that's sad, isn't it?
I know I always say it, but John Lennon died when he was 40. What have we done? What have we done, Glyn?
Exactly.
If I get shot tomorrow, well, it's unlikely, not in the village I live in, but it could happen. Poachers, maybe. Anyway, that was lovely chat with Jan. It was really nice to see her again, and I look forward to when we can have her back at the club. When we can even have a club would be nice.
Yeah, we do, because we do. In case anyone who's listening isn't aware, we do run a comedy club, and it's called Mostly Comedy, and it runs in Hitchin in Hertfordshire. For anyone who might be listening in a different country, in a different part of the world, maybe, who knows? Because there's a podcast and it can go anywhere, so it's great.
It could go as far as Baldock and Letchworth.
Exactly. This is what we're hoping for. If we can break Baldock, then we know we've
need to get into the Bedfordshire market. That's what we need.
This is it. Yeah,
Instant
it's all very Hertfordshire centric, isn't it? So
it is.
Push a bit further out, but yeah, do come join us if you happen to be in the local area when we start. But all the details of Mostly Comedy and future gigs will be on mostlycomedy.co.uk on our website, as are all the details of this podcast and previous and future podcasts.
Yeah, and as we've said before, I feel like, for one, I think we feel like we're getting into a bit of a rhythm with this now, because obviously we never intended on doing these podcasts in this way through Zoom as we're doing it. And now we've done, I don't know how many, we've done about 5 or 6, I think, and we've got about another 7 to come so far. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is a really good opportunity to talk to these people that we probably wouldn't have had, like you said, at the beginning, I believe, or maybe that was before the recording, but we wouldn't have had this sort of opportunity, and it's really valuable. I think it's great to have a chat with these people.
It is,
and like you said, actually, the thing about being a leveller, everything about this situation, which, hopefully people are listening to this beyond the situation where hopefully it's got more positive.
Yeah.
And it's not like a barren Mad Max landscape where we've all got mullets and we're all fighting.
Yep.
But
I've got a mullet.
I've got a mullet at the moment, pretty much.
Yeah, mine is as well.
Yeah. It's going to come back. But yeah, but we are all in an unprecedented situation, and it means that it sort of pushes us all together, I think, a bit, and therefore
it does.
Having these chats with these people sort of adds to that. I think it's like a sort of community thing, isn't it? It's getting, it is, like you say, a leveller. We're all in the same position, and we're trying to get through it, but in a good way, I think.
Yes,
if that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, definitely. Know. So, we and if you are listening to this when we're out of this, please. I don't know what you can do. I was going to say,
well, send us a psychic message. Can you go in a time machine, get a DeLorean, and come back to 2020 and specifically find Glyn and David? We're in Hertfordshire, and tell us how we get out of this, because it'd be very useful right now.
And also when we're likely to be doing it live again, because obviously that would be key.
Yeah,
I'd really like to know.
I almost can't imagine it at the moment. I can't.
I can't. It's very strange at the moment, isn't it? But this is the next best thing, and we'll keep doing this as long as we can.
It's got slower and slower, and then I'll edit that so it was really zippy.
Yeah, make it sound like I've got more faith in what I'm saying. That would be great.
I'll get an actor in to dub it. But it is a great thing, and it was nice to have you with us for this episode.
Yes.
Hopefully listen to the other ones and join us again soon for another interview with someone new.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, stay safe. Enjoy that drink and your legs back or whatever. I don't know what I was talking about.
Head back, legs up, head back. Don't know. Is that the?
It's like some sort of hokey cokey, knees bent, arms stretched. I don't know.
Rah rah rah. Yeah.
Rah rah rah. But yeah. On that note, goodbye.
Bye.
Slightly weird ending to the podcast, but what the hell? You haven't paid for it. See you soon.